All right, so this week, unlike the movie, which is about the most uh, miserable movie that we've watched in a while,
Agree to disagree.
or negative,
Go ahead.
I'd like to start off with a positive experience that this movie reminded me of.
Okay.
So this movie takes place in the Austrian Alps, and I haven't been to Austria, but I've been to the German Alps.
Have you skied?
I have not skied, no.
Can you ski in the German Alps? I don't know anything about the Alps or Germany or anything, so tell me all about it.
You definitely can ski there.
But you didn't?
There were people skiing when I was there. I just didn't have skis.
So what did you do at the Alps?
So I went to Zugspitze, which is the highest mountain in Germany.
So it's nothing to do with pizza?
No.
No, okay.
Not pizza. It's Zugspitze.
Oh, well, it sounded like Zook's Pizza.
No. I rode a terrifying cable car to the top of the mountain, went through clouds.
That sounds fun.
It was about 100 feet away from the side of the mountain, but 1,000 feet down.
You would have loved to see your face. Yeah.
Oh God, it was terrifying.
But this is a positive experience.
It was beautiful at the top. Once you get to the top of the mountain, it was great and thoroughly enjoyable. I mean, great pictures.
I'm sure you have great pictures.
Great. It would be great to ski there. I mean, from the looks of
bucket list, go ski in the Alps.
I mean, they have this glass floored overlook that goes 1,000 meters straight down, which is 3,000 feet. No, don't ever do that again. Not doing that again.
No?
No.
No, but we are, because you've told me that, so we are.
All right, that's what I got. So this week's movie is Downhill.
Yep.
I'm Tyler.
I'm Shay.
And this is Cinematically Correct. And where do you want to go?
Yeah, so this was my choice movie. I had picked it because the little synopsis thing had said it was a romantic comedy for realists, which I would classify myself as a realist for the most part.
Is this a romantic comedy?
I mean, so that's going to be a debate later on. That's a question that's been asked.
Is it a comedy?
So that's a question that's been asked. Let's not jump ahead on that, but that's what it was classified as, so that's why I picked it. So before we get into the movie, should we do your beer?
All right, sure. This is Cannon Ale. It's got a gondola on it. It's brewed in New Hampshire, which is great skiing in the United States for East Coast. It's not the Rockies, but it's the best we have.
Are you trying to demote the skiing of the East Coast? Because
it's not nearly as good as the Rocky Mountains, so I've been told.
I've been told that the East Coast has great skiing. I mean, I don't ski, so obviously.
Which it goes East Coast, Rockies, and then Alps are probably the best skiing.
Well, yeah, I mean, I meant in the United States. I mean, no one's comparing to the Alps.
So, yeah, I'm going to hate this one.
Great. That's exactly what I've wanted in life. We haven't had a good you hate it in a while.
Oh, that's awful.
Yes.
That is.
Thank you, Woodstock Brewing. You have come through.
That's straight drinking a Christmas tree.
What type of beer was it?
It's an IPA.
Ah, okay. So that makes sense. On brand for you.
Not on brand for me. On brand for hating it. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
All right.
So what's the brief synopsis?
Brief synopsis.
Brief synopsis.
It is a family from the United States going on a ski trip in Austria where they are almost killed in an avalanche and they are dealing with the repercussions of that.
Okay, yeah.
And the father's cowardice.
I mean, yeah. Okay, fine.
That's the movie.
Okay, so let's go through the characters. I mean, how many do we really want to go through? Because I don't know that. I mean, really, it's really Will Ferrell and Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Yes.
But, I mean, we can talk about other ones. So, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, I think you would probably most know her from Seinfeld.
Everyone knows her from Seinfeld. If you don't know her from Seinfeld, then you don't know her. I mean, she's been in other things. Obviously, more recently, she's been in Veep.
Yeah.
But
and the New Adventures of Old Christine, I think I saw her in.
Right, but I mean, Seinfeld is that's the one.
Yeah. So she plays a wife and mother who, her husband abandoned her in a time of crisis, and she's kind of dealing with that and trying to kind of sort out how she feels about it throughout the entire movie is basically what it is. So, I mean, there's obviously mixed opinions of her online, of her being vindictive or hateful. And so we'll talk about like the things she did and the things she said and whatever. But me personally, I didn't dislike her character. I know that you had said before that you didn't find her likable, but I didn't dislike her character, and I like her as an actress, and I still thought she
she's
did
a very
well.
good actress. This whole movie is a composite of actors that I don't really like. Not actors that I don't really like, just characters that I didn't care for.
Okay. Will Ferrell played Pete. Oh, Julia Louis-Dreyfus' character was named Billy. Will Ferrell's character is Pete. He plays husband and father who abandons his family in a time of crisis.
Abandons his family to die in an avalanche.
Yeah, and he's dealing with the loss of his father, and he's kind of
8 months ago.
Yeah, coming to terms with his own mortality, as well as kind of trying to be a caregiver and obviously failing miserably at it. So, I mean, his character is hard to like. They don't give you much to like about him. But he's relatable. You can understand where he's coming from, and a lot of it, you're just kind of like, man, no. Like, it's the secondhand embarrassment when you watch it.
Oh, yeah. This whole movie is secondhand embarrassment. It's just that awkward moment. They framed it where you're having an argument in front of another couple, which no one wants to be that other couple.
No.
Ever. We've all been there, and it's just the worst.
I don't know if I've been the other couple when someone's fighting.
Or not even another couple, but just around another couple.
Oh, I've been around another couple.
Yeah,
it's for sure.
Crawl into a hole and just die awkward.
Yeah. So other than that, I don't think any of the characters really need to be mentioned. I will, for the sake of my connection, mention Zach Woods. He was, I believe, the other couple that was fighting.
Okay.
And he was in The Good Wife with Matt Krasinski, who plays Logan in Gilmore Girls. Thank you very much.
I have to mention one last person as well.
Mm-hmm.
So Christopher Hughes.
Is he the one that was in the original Swedish film?
He is. He's the guy with the crazy red hair, beard, ski safety person.
I mean, his name gave it away, but yeah got it.
So he is in Game of Thrones with Sean Bean.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I knew we were going here.
I mean, otherwise I'd have to go with Will Ferrell and...
You still have to connect it to... We know how you're doing it, but you still have to go the whole way.
Sean Bean was in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, but you had to say it.
Oh, okay.
It's important.
Otherwise, I'd have to go... Will Ferrell was in Beastie Boys' Fight for Your Right Revised with Elijah Wood. But that's kind of a weird one.
Yeah.
So, go with the direct. He's also in oddly another ski movie, which I will be relating to my history minute.
Was he a skier? Or
something? I think he's Swedish, if I'm not mistaken, and they ski.
Well, he's Swedish based on his name. Yes, he is.
So the movie that is that I've actually seen, oddly enough, is The Last King. It's a history movie.
Okay.
About skiing.
And you've seen it?
I have.
And should I see it or no see it?
I don't know if you'd like it because it's old medieval history.
Oh.
And it's...
boy. Please don't make us put it on the list, guys,
It's all subtitles, if I remember correctly.
I don't mind subtitles as long as I...
Well, it's two guys skiing in the woods together, basically, for the entire movie.
Romantic.
No.
Okay, so that's everything?
Yeah, that's everything.
So the rest of the characters, not to say that they're bad or anything like that, but it's very much ancillary supporting cast. There's not a lot of other people that stand out. So from there, we should mention that this is a remake. This was, I don't know how to say the Swedish film's name. Do you?
Force Majeure?
Okay. That was the original Swedish film. It came out not too long ago, a few years ago.
Yeah.
And was about the same thing, but was based off of a Seinfeld episode, season 5, episode 19? Or
20, I believe.
Okay.
Season 5, episode 20, The Fire, if I'm not mistaken. So this is an American adaptation of a Swedish film that was based off an American sitcom?
Yes.
So we've come full circle. We're back to the United States then.
And also, Julia Louis-Dreyfus was in Seinfeld. So she did approach, I don't know if she's the producer or what it is, but I do know that she did approach the Swedish filmmakers to ask for their blessing to do this remake, and they gave it to her or whatever. But I think it's crazy that it's originally a Seinfeld idea that then 20 years later or whatever it is, Julia Louis-Dreyfus ends up starring in. Like, that's crazy.
That's just the one of those weird coincidences that...
It's not a coincidence.
Yeah. Well,
I'm sure she knew about it because of her role in Seinfeld.
Probably.
So
regardless, it's one of those nice, happy accidents of the world.
right. So, anyways, because of that, we have now 3 versions of the same event to kind of look at, and I kind of wanted to look at them and see how you feel about them, if you relate to any of them. So, in the movie that we watched, basically what happens is an avalanche is coming. They are sitting on like a rooftop deck type thing.
It's like an outdoor cafe, ski chalet kind of thing.
Right. And he's kind of like, they're seeing it coming. They're nervous, but not too nervous yet. And then when it really starts coming, he grabs his phone and takes off.
Yeah.
Leaves his kids and wife behind, and they are understandably angry that he has chosen to remember his phone, but not his, family.
They're a little bit disillusioned with the whole idea of the father being the one that protects the family.
Right.
That
and
is
they
kind
don't
of
really say anything right off the bat. They seem kind of in shock and kind of just like that. Did that happen? Did we really see that's really what you did? That was your choice, right?
Yeah.
So, okay. So that was that version. The Swedish version, was a little bit more where the father was kind of vamping about how, don't worry, it's not coming, it's controlled, you don't have to stress about it, and then, oh crap, and then grabs his phone and pieced again.
Yeah.
In that version, it felt a little bit more like he lulled them into a false sense of security and then ditched them, so I don't know if I'd be more upset or how I would feel.
The Titanic is not sinking, guys. Don't worry about it. That iceberg, it barely dented the hull. It's fine.
Yeah. So, yeah. And then the version it's based on. So, Seinfeld. So, we watched that today. And...
Well, no, hold on. You watched it today. How dare you say that I haven't...
Well, I wasn't saying that you watched it for the first time. It just meant that we just watched it, so we have it fresh in our brain.
I might have seen I think I have seen every single episode of Seinfeld, if I'm not mistaken.
Weird flex, but okay. Anyways, so fire is happening in the kitchen, and from the looks of it, it's not even really a fire. It's just smoke coming out of the oven.
Yeah. It's George Costanza sees smoke and panics because he's George and pushes
old ladies,
his girlfriend, a clown, old lady, women and children out of the way of the door to run out of the apartment.
Yes. And then when questioned about it, he says that he was the hero and that he can see how it might look like he wasn't, but really he was making way to the exit so that everyone could get out safe.
It's the whole George persona that exists in Seinfeld, and if you know, you know. He's indignant that people would think that, even though he knows it is a core piece of his personality. And so he gets all up in arms and defends himself, and the person's like, how do you live with yourself at the end of it?
Right. So anyways, looking at those 3, I mean, do you relate to how anybody reacted in these initial scenarios? We don't have to talk about what happened after just yet, but
I mean, all of the 3 of them, I will say Will Ferrell seemed the most realistic. I don't know if I would necessarily start running, but I mean, that seemed more realistic than the other 2.
And what do you mean by that?
In terms of it's just a visceral gut reaction. He made a decision and he went with it rather than the over-the-top George Costanza, which is clearly just so satire. It's comedy.
Right. It is comedy. So for me, I look at it and I think of how do I think I would be in a scenario like that? And I try to imagine what I would think of. And knowing myself, I generally do not think of myself in any scenario that I feel like my first instinct would be my kids. That would be, I can see leaving my husband behind, as horrible as that sounds.
Wow.
But right. I can see it as I would think that they can fend for themselves. They're an adult. I can expect that they can fend for themselves. But for a child, I don't feel like I could, in any realm of the world, let that go. So I could see myself dragging a kid with me or picking a kid up if they were small enough. Those kids looked a little bit too big to be picked up, but grabbing them by the hand and pulling them, I can see that. But the idea of just not even thinking about them seems very unrealistic to me. It just doesn't sit with me. But can you see yourself actually doing that?
I mean, I can understand the reaction. I think I would react differently, but
you hope you would react differently.
Yes. You don't actually know until it's that kind of circumstance, but you would like to think of yourself doing the right thing.
Now, have you ever been in a situation where you've had to have any type of fight or flight response? Because, I mean, we all have in our life, right? I mean, but just not to an extreme level.
I mean, yeah, you go to the haunted houses and they're designed to scare you. And
what do you do in those situations? Like, are you generally more protective of yourself, or are you more like worried about someone next to you?
See, I'm generally all right, let's go. I'm definitely more the fight than flight of the two responses.
Are
usually.
you though?
Yeah.
Okay, like let's use an example of like being in front of like a height that you're afraid you're gonna fall off of. Are you more concerned about yourself falling, or are you more concerned about somebody getting hurt that's with you?
I would say equal parts of both. Thank you.
Well, because I think the fear is important in the fight or flight response. If you think that you can beat the person, then that's not necessarily
beating heights. There's no beating the heights. There's no getting out of it.
Well, right. So, but fear is important here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know that, like, in roller coasters, we'll use for an example, I'm terrified of roller coasters. When I'm alone, I'm so much more scared, like 50 times more scared. But if I have, like, my sister with me, my whole being is focused on, is she in? Is she falling out? I need to put my arms around her. Like, even though she's not scared at all, she doesn't even, nothing. But my whole being, and I'm not scared anymore because it's like, no, I have a job. Like, that's my job. So, like, I feel...
So I've had that same reaction where I had to make sure that my little brother didn't fall out of a roller coaster a few times because he loves them, but he's always been very skinny. And when he was younger, he would be able to scoot between the two straps and not be securely fastened to the roller coaster.
Right.
So, yeah, that's a bit terrifying, but it's push him back in. Kind of.
So we like to believe that we would not be Will Ferrell, is what we want to believe.
I would like positive thoughts, yeah.
Okay, so another thing that they're discussing in this movie is Will Ferrell lost his father 8 months ago. And he left a phrase behind of, today is all you have.
Every day is all you have.
Every day is all you have. Okay. So it seems like it's a change in attitude for his character, and he's kind of trying to take on this new mantra, and I don't know that his wife is loving it.
Well, it's basically YOLO, but nicer.
Well, right. And I don't know that his wife is totally on board with this YOLO attitude.
Well, I think she is more wanting to get back to a normal life and a normal routine. And he seems dead set on not confronting his problems, running away. Because he runs away from the avalanche, but he runs away from
his problems?
Reality, yeah.
His problems. So his wife and children are his problems. That's what I heard.
That's not what I'm going with personally, but that's his character, yes. So he's...
Oh, okay. That's a whole other set of problems for that character.
No, it's just he's coming to grips with his own mortality, and rather than trying to deal with it, he's trying to avoid facing that fact. This entire movie is him avoiding things that make him uncomfortable.
Well, I mean, that's what men do sometimes, it seems.
Well, thank you.
I wasn't talking about anyone in particular.
Yeah.
But, no. But yeah, so first of all, the YOLO attitude I will never have. I don't know how people have that attitude. It's very confusing to me, but I can understand where he's coming from in that. But I can also understand her hesitation to that because especially if it's a stark adjustment for him.
Right.
So anyway, we did write running away from your problems here. So likability of the characters. So this is something that's really hotly debated online.
I don't think it's hotly debated. I think everyone has a consensus that the characters are not likable.
With a few exceptions. But I think this is why I struggle with this. So this movie is marketed as a comedy, and you kind of have to accept the fact that if it's a comedy, it's a dark comedy. It's
a black comedy. Yeah, it's a dark.
So if you're going into this thinking it's going to be a ha-ha slapstick comedy, you're wrong. It's definitely more of a black comedy, if comedy at all. With that, you're getting characters that are not these over, like, characterized, like, colorful characters. You're getting people, like real people.
It's not Dumb and Dumber in Vail, Colorado, at the ski resort. It's real people with their own problems.
Right. Real people with real problems that are complicated and that are not just this one-sided thing. Like, they're dynamic and they have all these type of problems. So I think you have to look at it like that to determine whether or not they're likable people. So I did want to look at them as individuals and then look at them as couples. So Julia Louis-Dreyfus is basically the most hated character, which is confusing to me.
I don't know if that's necessarily fair. I think Will Ferrell is more unlikable.
I feel that the filmmakers made it so Will Ferrell had to be more unlikable because he literally left his wife and children.
Well, he also, like, watching your kids, it was almost like it was a burden to take him to the kid resort. And he's smacking into his own kid on the Alpines roller coaster.
Right.
And it's just like, dude, not the time.
Right.
Just have a nice, relaxing day. Have fun with your kids. That's more important than going skiing a little bit.
Right. The other problem with him that I notice anyways is that he lies a lot. And I understand that the lying that he's doing is to make himself feel better and to also kind of rationalize stuff that he's having a hard time dealing with.
I think a lot of it is the dangerous slope of the little lie to try to make your life a little bit easier, which never really works.
No, it doesn't.
Never.
It's
Thank
weird.
you.
It's so funny.
But it's the whole, my coworker just called me and I didn't know how to respond because he was already here.
But the truth always comes out, and it did. And the coworker said, well, something to the effect
Thank
of,
you for texting me.
Thanks for calling me. Yeah, whatever. And it's like the wife just looks at him just like, but why? Like, I'm so angry that you felt the need to lie. Like, it's just crazy. And he does it when he's talking about the avalanche. And I feel like that adds to the problem as things go on because he makes her feel crazy in her evaluation of the events because he's looking at it like, no, that's not what happened. I didn't leave you behind. And he kind of like changes it. And you weren't in real danger. And she's like, I almost died. Like, what do you mean?
Well, there's that whole argument. Well, I may have seen the warnings and...
Yeah, there may have been signs. A few. A lot of signs. There was quite a few signs. I mean, but it's irrelevant if I read the signs. Yeah. Like, yes, it's relevant. Like, yes, it's relevant. It's just crazy. So, to me, like, there's no redeeming that. There's no redeeming the constant lying and the constant changing the story. There just isn't. But for her character... So the biggest problem that they come up with for her is she's vindictive and she is not forgiving. So I'm curious if that is a critique on women who are angry or if that is a fair critique of her.
See, I would argue that my main issue is that she is hypocritical of her husband because he had a visceral reaction, which on some level he may or may not have been able to control. Like, he may have just run out of the ski resort. Like,
okay, yeah,
she makes the conscious decision to have a bit of a dalliance with the ski instructor. Now, it doesn't go as far as it could have gone, but she still is making that decision.
I mean, so as I said, real people. So it's a poor decision, but I feel like you can see from her perspective that she felt left behind. She felt probably not loved by her husband because he left her to die. And she felt like nobody was going to take care of her, so she needed to take care of herself. And she just had that conversation with that woman who basically said, like, what's the big deal about a little parts touching? Like, that's not a big deal. You need to take care of you and do that and have fun and whatever. So I feel like she was kind of in the mindset of like, if my husband's not going to take care of me, I'll do it. Like, whatever.
I mean, I do get that, but at the same time, she's making more of a conscious choice than he did, arguably.
I mean, yeah and no. I mean,
so
reacting off of emotion is just the same, isn't it?
So I don't necessarily know that it's the same because it's built into your genetics to preserve yourself. Like, that's just...
It's crappy genetics.
Well, everyone has the fight or flight. It's just, that's not something that...
But women are expected to have a maternal instinct. So if they don't protect their children, are they worse than men not protecting?
No. I mean, society very well may judge them more harshly, but they're no better or worse.
So then what you're saying is it's worse that she had a little tryst or whatever she had with the ski instructor than it is that he left her to die and then lied about it the entirety of the movie.
No, what I'm saying is that the decision to do that makes her a hypocrite because she's judging her husband on a quote-unquote decision that he made to leave his family to die.
But that's not how this works, right? Like, you don't get to negate what somebody did because somebody else did something shitty afterwards. Like, that's not how this works.
No, it just that's where I would be more irritated because it's hypocritical. It's
okay. So let's put aside the tryst. Okay, so the reason that Reddit really complains about her is the little remarks she makes throughout the movie from the beginning. So starting at the beginning, she makes remarks
Stop being
about
on your phone.
him being on his phone. She, after everything happens, she's continually making remarks to him about like just the way he's dealing with stuff, and she's being snippy and whatever towards him. And they basically say like she's vindictive and she's holding this grudge this whole time and she's not being forgiving of him. Do you think that's valid, the way she's acting?
I think more so than Reddit seems to think. I think she's processing that her perception of her family and her husband has changed fundamentally, and it's going to take her some time to process that, and then hopefully at some point get back into a better dynamic with her husband.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I watch it and I imagine like how they got there. Like, I look at them and I'm like, okay, so they're obviously a married couple who have had these little issues. Like, the phone thing was obviously something, it was a holdover. It was very clear that he knew when she said it that it's a problem that he's doing. You could just tell by the look on his face, like it was a holdover. So I look at it and I think like, okay, all of these little things have been happening along this time. So this avalanche thing for her was probably validation of a fear she already had.
This is the straw that broke the camel's back. This is the moment that everything that had happened before, that was just building up and building up and building up like the avalanche, the snow, just came out all at once.
Right. It was literally like an avalanche of their relationship. It was all of those problems just came breaking through. Yeah. And for her, it was probably a lot of like, yeah, this is how I was feeling. I felt like he was going to abandon us. I felt like he didn't care about us anymore. Like, that's what I was feeling. And then to have that happen, she's looking at it like, I'm validated. And he's looking at it as like, that's not fair. That's not how I'm seeing this. That's not how I'm interpreting this. You're skewing the perception here. Even
though she's not skewing it, and he's trying to skew it to make himself feel better.
Right. He's looking at it through an entirely different perspective than she is, but she's looking at it through reality. Yeah. And he's looking at it through his emotional well-being, I suppose. Yeah. So, I don't know. I relate to her a lot. I feel like I would act very much that way in that situation. I act very much that way in a lot of my life. So, yeah.
I mean, I wrote down he is basically me.
He is very much basically you. I think that it's funny to watch somebody do the little things to change how something happened like you do. I've never seen that represented in a movie before. Yeah. But changing the little things, not lying per se, but trying to kind of morph it into something a little bit better.
I wrote down, this movie is going to get me sleeping on the couch. Because you're going to see
what I have to look forward to. Yes,
I'm not going to leave you to die in an avalanche.
Yeah, I don't know that. Okay, so anyways, I mean, this is going to be a short episode because there isn't a ton to this movie, but there is some ending scenes that I feel like we should go over. So at the end, she fakes an injury and she gets carried down. And I think I took a screenshot of her actual quote because people are not thrilled about it.
Well, she's doing this whole thing while you're looking. I'm going to vamp a little bit to redeem Pete in his kids' eyes because they are clearly uncomfortable this entire time after the avalanche. They don't respect their father anymore. It's very much a what my world doesn't make any sense anymore.
Oh, I forgot to ask you. So I hate to do this. I hate to bring things back to an earlier conversation, but Reddit was very upset that she brought her kids into this and brought them out from their room and said, do you side with me? Do you think what your father did was right? And do you think that was wrong of her to do?
I mean, I don't think she needed to do that because it didn't help her kids process things at all. But at the same time, she wasn't in the right frame of mind because she was
feeling crazy.
Well, she was feeling misremembering of the circumstances because he's explaining the story to his work friend.
Wrong.
Yeah, and he's giving his accounting of it, which is a jaded view of things.
Yeah.
And she needs more validation, and she needs other people that agree with her perspective.
Right. She needs to be grounded back in reality. Be like, no. I didn't misremember this.
I mean, it does make her a bad mother to do that to her children, but I mean...
But her children were like 15, 16, right? I mean, they looked like they were older anyways.
No, they were like...
I mean, it said online that they were like 13, 14, but they looked much older than that, so I'm not really sure I believe that. But anyway, I mean, yeah, it makes her wrong, but at the same time, I feel he drove her to that.
Fair, but again, the two wrongs don't make it right.
No, they don't, but
so
I don't know who's more
He is wrong for lying about it. She is wrong for further traumatizing her children.
Yeah, I guess she didn't want to be gaslit, I guess is what they would say. But anyways, so at the end of the movie, she fakes an injury, and she says, "This is for our boys, for how they see you. But as far as you and I are concerned, if you don't like the way that I look at you, then show me something different."
I think that's fair because she is a mother and she very much doesn't want her family to be ripped apart and her sons to not have a relationship with their father. I mean, what person doesn't want their kids to have a relationship with their mother or father? Like, that's just...
Right.
Everyone wants that. And she may have her own personal issues with this moment, but she's going to put that aside for her children, which is very commendable.
Right. But do you think it's crappy of her to basically say, like, that I'm not forgiving you right now? Like, there is still work you need to do. I'm going to help you with your kids, but there's still work you need to do.
Speaking as the dumb, oblivious man, I appreciate the honesty because I'm sure that if she hadn't said that, he could have assumed
everything was fine.
Everything is fine.
Which is just not...
I could 100% see myself going, oh, she's doing this, so we're going to go back to normal. That's great. And then she's still seething under the surface, and
then it's seething even more. Like, I just did this for you, and you can't even? Are you kidding me right now? Like, yeah.
Well, exactly. So it's the whole, he thinks it's fine. He can't think it's fine. He can't think it's fine.
He's not that dumb. Like,
he's that dumb.
Yeah, no.
No, 100% he's that dumb. I would 100%, everything's fine now.
Right. I mean, the internet feels she should have forgiven him at that point. And I look at it as, it's not that easy to forgive someone for literally abandoning you. Like, that's a big deal, and that might take therapy. Like, that's a big deal. So I think it's fair and realistic to show her saying, like, I want to help you repair your relationship with your kids, but, like, to repair your relationship with me, like, we're going to have to work on that together, and that's not going to be today. Like, it's going to take more than just you saying, I'm sorry, which he didn't say, by the way. So, you know, like, that's...
I mean, I think it's more than fair, given the fact that she doesn't have to instantly give...
And she didn't have to help him, really.
She doesn't have to get over it at all. Like, she can hold that. She could divorce him over that. Like, that's...
And people might. I mean, in the George Costanza Seinfeld episode, the girl broke up with him, and Jerry was like, well, yeah, like
maybe she'll reconsider after she leaves the burn ward.
Yeah, like, I mean, obviously someone's gonna leave you over that. You left them to die according to what you thought was happening in that situation.
Yeah, and in the George version, they'd only been dating for a little while, and it's like,
well, yeah,
obviously, like that's
obviously there's
like the first 3 weeks of dating. Of course, if you leave me to die, I'm gonna be like, nah.
Right.
No, thanks.
Exactly. Okay. So, and then the very, very end, there's the scene where there's snow falling, and it's kind of ambiguous as to what exactly happened. So, do they jump together? Do they jump separately? What's the situation? And from what I read, it's meant to be ambiguous, but how did you read that?
I just figured that they didn't have a better way to end the movie, because there's nowhere to go from there, because they're not going to drag on for another 3 hours of therapy when they're back in the United States.
But it's supposed to mean something. It's supposed to symbolize something. Is it supposed to symbolize that he went right back to what he did before and abandoned them? Is it supposed to symbolize that they all went together? What is it supposed to symbolize?
See, I don't know. Maybe it's not supposed to symbolize anything. You don't know that it is supposed to symbolize anything. You're just making an inference.
Well, they said they wanted it to be ambiguous so that the
Yeah.
audiences interpreted it.
I think that they probably tried to move on together as a family.
See, I looked at it
Optimistic.
as they all realized they needed to take care of themselves. And that's, you know, do with that what you will. I mean, do you want to be an individual in a relationship or do you want to be a team? I don't know. I guess it's your own preference, right?
I guess. Can I just say I want to go heli skiing?
Heli skiing?
Heli skiing?
Like skiing from a helicopter?
Yeah.
I've never heard of it.
Well, they did the scene where they missed the helicopter in this movie.
The $2,000 helicopter? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I want to do it. I mean, I don't want to pay.
Don't like heights, so okay.
I don't want to pay $2,000, but I totally want to go skiing from a helicopter.
Okay, well, we'll get on that. Do you have a history minute?
Tyler's History Minute.
So I have a few.
Okay, go for it.
So the earliest confirmed skiing is around 6000 BC.
Okay.
Skis were found in Russia. There was cave paintings in China that may depict skis around 5000 BC. And then most people assume that it actually originated in Scandinavia, in Norway, Sweden, Finland. The word ski comes from the Old Norse for skid, which is means a stick of wood. Literally a stick of wood. And so, yeah. And then we've been skiing for recreation since around the 1800s.
Fascinating.
So the movie that I had mentioned at the start of the podcast,
The King or something?
The Last King?
The Last King.
Is the historical telling of Hakon of Norway being transported as a baby away from assassins because his father died and he's now the king as a child or baby, and they had to take him through the woods and the mountains on skis to keep him safe in the year 1206.
Fascinating. I don't know really why that's quite related to this. I mean, other than that the guy was in it, but
it's skiing related.
Okay.
It's a story related to skiing.
Gotcha.
Lastly, I wanted to talk about one of the most deadly avalanches.
Okay.
Which is the stupidest thing that I've read in a while. So it's White Friday, avalanche that killed between 2,000 and 10,000 people. It was during World War I in 1916. And so what happened is the Austro-Hungarians and the Italians were fighting. And so both sides decided in their infinite wisdom to start shooting the sides of the mountain to cause avalanches to kill the other side.
Jesus.
And so that happened and killed a lot of people.
Sounds great.
Well done for
really
everybody.
Smart people.
Yeah. So that's what I have.
You don't have any of the ones I sent you, but okay. Sure. Guess you skipped my history minutes. Rude.
I had to come up with my own. So there.
Or you just didn't read my text messages before the podcast. So
Probably that.
yeah, probably that. Okay, so for the audience asked.
Audience asks.
So, audience asks.
Yep.
We ready? Gidget Von LaRue. She said, I enjoyed this film, but it was marketed totally wrong. It is not a comedy. I think due to the two leads, people assumed it was. So, debate question. How would you market this film? Do you consider it a comedy?
I would consider it more of a tragedy. I mean, it's an uncomfortable watch. I was expecting a comedy because that's what you read to me.
Right.
And
it said romantic comedy for realists.
so it put me in a whole different mindset. I think if I had a different mindset going into this movie, I may have liked it more.
Right.
I was just in a different headspace because I was expecting to at least get a few laughs. No laughing.
Right. And I do understand black humor and black comedy and all of that. And I see some parts of that in here, but I don't really feel it was a comedy because it was dealing with real emotional stuff and they weren't poking fun at it. Like it was, they were dealing with it. It was more of a drama.
It was definitely more of a drama.
With comedic elements and dark humor for sure. Like definitely dark humor, comedic elements. Don't think slapstick when you're going into this. You see Will Ferrell, you think slapstick.
I mean, except for her in the bathroom scene slapstick, that was amusing. But I mean, there's no real laughing in this movie. It's just
there's little bits to take the edge off, but I mean they do that in dramas. So I would say more of a drama.
Yeah.
That's probably what I would market it as.
And I got to say, Will Ferrell, very good in this character role.
Yeah.
Right? Because you think of him as a funny guy, but this is a very, very well done portrayal of an unlikable, awkward person.
It definitely is. He plays that character a few times. I've seen him in some other dramatic roles. The narrator one is coming to mind again, but I can't think of the name of the movie. So if you guys know the movie where he narrates
Watch, it's going to be The Narrator.
Something like that. Anyways, so the Contrarian said, was everybody too hard on Will Ferrell for a natural flight response?
Yes and no. I mean, everyone has the high-minded idea that I'm going to stay there with my family and I'm going to protect them at all costs. And that's not reality. People don't always respond that way. And it's on certain levels, there are things that you're not going to be able to control how you react.
Fair. But he is also a grown adult that has children, and he should have had his priority shifted towards his children. So I do think that there is, okay. When we say people were too hard on him, do we mean the critics or do we mean his wife? Because if we're talking about his wife in the film, no, she wasn't too hard on him. She had every right to expect her husband to protect her and her children. There's no saying that she should have been nicer about that. Like she had every right.
Fair. I mean, if the objective third party people in this world
then,
don't have the same ability to judge, because
you don't know them.
He wasn't the only one that ran away. So there were several people that ran away. I mean, there was men and women. It could be people leaving their spouses, people pushing their girlfriend down to get out of the way. Like, those people are also...
So the elusive you, yeah, maybe they were too hard on him because, I mean, you don't know how you would be in the situation and whatever. But his wife, no. She has every right to be like, no. You are meant to protect me and the children. And if you don't, I have every right to be angry. So it depends on who you mean by you, I guess is what I'm saying there. But that's what we have for Audience Ask, which I'm very proud that we got those within like an hour of posting. So thank you guys for doing that. And do you have the reviews?
Reviews.
I do.
know they're not good, so.
So Rotten Tomatoes, the critic score is 38.
Oh, wow. Gosh.
So brutal.
We should
now,
caveat this.
Do you think that the critic score is higher or lower than the audience score?
So this is why I'm caveating, because my guess, based on what I read on Reddit, is that it's lower. And the reason I'm guessing that is because the entire Reddit thread, all it did was compare it to the movie it was remade from, saying how the remake, it's a horrible remake, stupid Americans making remakes, da-da-da. So they didn't hate the film on its face. They hated the film for what it was a remake of. And the original was better.
So the critic score, 38%. The audience score, this might be the lowest movie we've ever done. 14.
Yeesh.
So just crushed.
So first of all, I do want to see the original, and I would be down for doing it for the podcast if people want to know how it compares, all that kind of stuff. I'd be down for that. But I do think it is a little bit of an unfair critique, because I do think that they are looking at the original source material and giving it that, well, they did this better. There's scenes that were removed, like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I was going to give it a 4.5.
Ooh, so my God.
So not great.
Why?
So I really didn't like this movie. Like, it was a tough watch.
Okay, let's
I also didn't like seeing myself in Will Ferrell.
That's what I was going to ask you, is did you not like the movie, or did you not like the look into your future?
Both.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So thank you for that.
You're welcome. So I was going to give it a 7. So I didn't love the movie. It wasn't my favorite movie. I'm probably not going to watch it again. But I found it very realistic and very relatable. And I found myself kind of being like, yeah, like I totally get where she's coming from. And I can, I like being able to see real problems on the screen and real people that are dynamic and don't have just this one dimension like persona, you know? So I liked that, and I thought it was very well shot. It was beautiful. The scenery was gorgeous. Like,
oh yeah, I want to go back to the Alps.
yeah, like I found it enjoyable. I just wish that as marketed as a comedy, it would have been funnier, because I was really sitting down looking for a funny film, and I found myself just being sad. So, and looking at this is what my life is going to be, and I have this is my life.
Yeah,
so.
this movie might have given me trauma watching it.
Trauma response. Yeah, so that's that. So what is your next movie? It's your choice.
It's my choice. It's going to be Allied, which is Brad Pitt and
it's a spy, not sci-fi.
Spy romance thriller by the trailer.
How old is this movie?
Oh, it's fairly recent, so it's only a few years ago. It's not
okay.
Not 1984. So I'm interested to see it. It looks exciting.
And it's got Brad Pitt.
It's got Brad Pitt. It's got Marion Cotillard.
Okay.
She was from Inception.
Okay.
And a couple other things. So I'm excited. It's got a great cast, and
so hopefully it's one we like.
Hopefully it's a better movie than this movie, and it's something that it's romance related for Valentine's, but
yeah, it's going to be Valentine's Day before the next episode, because I believe it is Sunday coming up. So happy Valentine's Day to everybody, and hopefully nobody, forgets your Valentine's Day or anything like that. Yeah, no, not a little casual reminder for my husband here. But yeah, that's all I've got. So do you have anything else?
I think that's everything.
Okay, so I did tweet out to leave reviews on Apple Podcasts if you guys haven't already done that. We haven't had a review since April 2020, I think. Something like that. So yeah, if you can do that, that does really help us get people to see and, know that people are still listening and paying attention and all that kind of stuff. So that's really helpful for us. Also, make sure that if you are listening to this and you know someone who would want to be listening to it, to share that with them. All that kind of stuff really helps us. And we're trying to really kind of get back into the swing of it. So we
have a lot of things that we do on a regular basis. So we try.
Will be here and we will be posting. And the more interaction we get, the more motivated that I am to get these podcasts
churned out. The key
is
motivating my wife. Because I try to push her to do it, and she just stonewalls me because she's more stubborn than I am.
Yes, this is true. But anyways,
motivate my wife to do the podcast.
Yeah, so if that means sending us audience asks, that really helps. If you want to send us comments about what we've said, or you want to talk to us, you want to debate with us, I love all of that. So I am on Twitter, CinematicallyC. Tyler's on Twitter, Blame Tyler CC. If you want to talk to him, make sure you tag me. You will get him, but you have to get through me first so I can make him answer you. Or you can email us cinematicallycorrect@gmail.com. So if you have questions about Allied that you want to, send to us, you can send that at any point in time. The audience ask should be out tomorrow, which would be Thursday. I think that is everything I have.
Save us, Krista. You're our only hope.
Yes, Krista. I miss you. I hope you're still out there. But that is everything. So thank you to Jacob Athos Music for our intro and outro music. We'll be back next week with Allied.
Thank you for listening.